Welcome to Wealth Mavericks. On today's episode, we're talking about doubt, discernment, and how to know who to trust with your financial future.
What we really care about is like you as, spiritual, family, business, financial fitness. And that's why your coach at Terra Firma is such a critical player in your world. Like if we demand more of this industry, perhaps the industry will move itself to a place where it is better serving to everybody.
Welcome back to the podcast. We're so glad you're here. I have Joe with me here today. How's it going, Joe?
Good. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So today we're talking about a question that comes up far more often than I'd like it to. And that is, when it comes to what we're doing at Terra Firma, how do I know this isn't a scam? And just that word makes me bristle and feel defensive. And I had to examine that this week. I got some good coaching on it, and I thought it would make for a good conversation on the podcast. Now, the reason I feel defensive when hearing that, and I don't know if you feel the same, but is because I know the work that goes into what we do every day. I know me, I know our team, and I know the care we put in day in and day out. So when someone asks me if what we're doing is trying to scam them somehow, my immediate reaction is I want to clap back. And I actually did say to a newer member this week, like, Bob and Joe and me and all of the people you see on our website, we have built careers and families and good names, and we wouldn't put that on the line for you. And I realized it was probably a more defensive response than I needed to provide. So after some reflection, I realized something. The question isn't about me. And usually it isn't even really about Terra Firma. It's coming from the past experiences of the person asking the question. And not just that, but maybe stories they've heard or past trust that may have been broken. And just the reality that there are people out there with ill intentions who will take advantage of you. So when someone says, how do I know this isn't a scam? What they're really asking is, can I trust this? Can I trust you? Or even, can I trust myself with this decision? And what if I get it wrong? And of course, that is not something that we want to dismiss. So skepticism isn't a bad thing. And when it comes to your money and your family's future, you should be doing your due diligence and asking good questions. So our conversation today is not about convincing you to trust Terra Firma just because we say so, but it's about helping you assess and just understand what to look for, what questions to ask, maybe red flags or green flags to pay attention to, and how to go into a decision like this being educated rather than fearful. So, Joe, I want to get your personal take on this. When you hear me tell you, like people say, well, how do I know this isn't a scam? What is your initial reaction to that?
I think people have real hurt. And like you already said, I mean, they either have friends or they've heard stories of people being taken advantage of. And I think there is an innate fear that we all have. And I think especially when we don't know, when we don't have knowledge, like we tend to fear what we don't know. Like if you have knowledge about something, it's easier to put that fear aside because you have knowledge. So I think finance for most doctors and the people that we serve is an area they were not trained in. They didn't teach this stuff in medical school. So it's an area that lacks knowledge. Maybe even worse, it's not just like lacking knowledge. There's all this knowledge out there. And it's like, I don't even know what to trust from a knowledge standpoint. So these really intelligent people who are trying to track down, like, who do I trust? And sometimes that information is even conflicting, thereby enhancing the fear.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's coming from. I think it's coming from a very real place. I think it's normal for us to be defensive. It's like, well, how could you even say that? But they don't, I mean, for many of our members, when they move forward with us, like it's a new relationship and trust is a two-way street. Like it has to be both earned and given. Like it has to be given so that it can be earned, and it has to be earned so that you can give more. So I just think it comes from a very genuine place. And I think most people feel defensive when your life's work is being, thrown into a category of scam. Like that's hard. So I think your response is probably appropriate. as is their skepticism and fear.
And I think you made a really good point that I hadn't even thought of. It's like it's not even a lack of information, it's almost too much
Hmm.
information. And that makes you feel like, how do I know who to trust? And I think that's why we put out so much content. Like, the people you follow, the people I follow, like we resonate with different people. And so we
Agree.
will say, of course, we're not for everyone, but we want to be very transparent about who we are and what we do so that if you do resonate with the things that we say, you can come in and trust us. And that's really what we're trying to do here. Is Bob says, we connect all the dots for you. It
Hmm.
is very hard to be out there and this piece of advice and this piece of advice. I have members who will text me like Instagram reels and be like, hey, can we do this? And I'll be like, we'll talk about it on our next strategy session with Bob. And yes, we probably can do this, but it depends on how it fits in your overall plan. So it's hard to piecemeal it together. It's hard to know who out there is the real deal. So we try to put enough out there so that you realize we are the real deal.
Hmm.
So successful, intelligent people, they've built all this expertise. They're very respected, but when it comes to this area, they still feel very vulnerable. So how should people discern what is real out there and what is more suspicious? Like,
Mm. Well, and especially like in this Instagram world,
mm,
all of it's fake. I mean, it's like everyone's putting their best foot forward. So it is difficult to discern who is the real deal. Like who is actually successful or who's like some influencer who's just I mean, literally, I look at it. I'm like, they bought 1 million followers so that they can
mhm,
look big, so that they can convince you that they're smart or whatever it might be. So I really do think this comes down to you need to investigate, and then
mhm,
at some point you have to then be able to trust. But I don't think people should just jump blindly into trusting people, ourselves included. There should be research that's involved. So how can I begin to trust this person? Well, do some investigation. Does what's being said or being presented, does it make sense to you? And that's where, I always use the analogy of like the light switch. Like I don't have to understand the premise of electricity or how electricity works or to flip the light switch on and for the lights to turn on. I don't have to understand it to make that happen. But if I was interested and if my life depended on that switch working properly, maybe I would investigate a little bit. So
yeah.
I just think it's people need to do their research and they have to find those people that they trust and then they need to trust them and move forward.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Andy Frisella, who owns First Form. And that's something he talks about a lot, is that there are just a lot of fake people on the internet who are like trying to look rich or look successful, but like the proof is in the pudding. And that's something I love so much about Bob too, is like we eat our own cooking. You can look at what we've done. We're teaching you what we do. It's not like we're just telling you to do one thing and then we're doing
Right.
a totally different thing. And Andy will say, like, do they have a brick and mortar? Do they have an office? Like, what is their, you can't fake some of those things. And
Mm,
so do your research. Do they have Google reviews? One thing to look out for is I mean, some places have like all 5 stars across the board, but oftentimes even the best company in the world is not going to have all 5 stars because one thing is going to go wrong or someone just has a bug up their butt or whatever it is. So if there's all 5 stars, maybe be a little suspicious.
mm,
Whereas like you look at Terra Firma, and I wish we had more reviews. I think some of our members just want to keep their cards close to their chest.
right.
Um, but we do have a lot of good ones and we have a couple of bad ones. And we're very transparent about like, we're doing our best here and we
Well,
address
and
those.
Well, I think what's funny about our negative reviews, I think there are two of them, and both of them were happened so unfortunately in the engagement process. So it
Yeah,
was a prospect. It's not even a client. And I'm like, I wish they would take them down. It's like you don't even know us. You don't,
I
but
know.
that's a good point. If everything is just hunky dory, then maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Although I mean, I think Google reviews and that kind of thing, like what people are saying, that can also be manipulated. I mean, that can be bought. That can be
Totally.
like, we have people,
Incentivized. Yeah.
yeah, incentivized or whatever it might be. Even like when people are like, oh, I want to talk to somebody who's working with you or whatever. It's like, no, you don't get that. Like you're not even a member. You don't get that.
Yeah.
So I just think it's tricky. And again, this is not a world that is like has a perfect history. I even think about like the stock market and the manipulation and things that go on. I mean, at like congressional levels,
Yeah.
like the whole world of finance is manipulated to serve a few people really well. So even people are like, well, how can I trust this? It's like, how can you trust any of it? How can you trust any of it? At some point, you go, this is the game we're playing, and I need to play it at the highest degree that I can. That's a
Yeah.
better question to ask yourself, not how am I getting scammed? It's how can I play at a better level?
Mm, that goes back to asking better questions. And
Right,
that's a military idea of like, you will never be 100% sure before you have to act. And so like
right.
you try to be 80% sure, I think it is what it is. But I
Hmm,
think something for me and like our whole team to remember is like, we are ingrained in this day in and day out and working so hard. But like most people, except for the referrals who come our way, I have to say I've welcomed a few referrals in the past couple of weeks. And it's like, huh, it's just so easy. They've heard so many good things about us and, there's like no objections and just nothing. But most of the people who find us have found us online,
hmm,
whether it's me through an ad or our website or whatever it is. It's like they don't know us at all. And
right,
so that is why we've built our process the way we have. So you're not signing up for, a big membership or commitment right out of the gate. Like we
right.
understand you have to get to know us. So talk us through a little bit our process and why we designed it the way we did.
I'm glad that you went there because it's so frustrating to me, honestly, because we tried to when we built this out, we wanted it to be as easy as possible for somebody to say yes. Or I should say it should be as easy as possible for the right people to say yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, in our engagement process, we filter people to make sure that we can theoretically have a good impact for them. Quick fit 15-minute conversation. I'm now secrets out, but I've built a GPT that I actually can send people that will take them through this whole initial process
Oh,
just
cool.
to see if there's a fit. If
Okay.
there is, and we offer to be hired, we have people enter what's called discovery. Discovery is a $2,500 investment, 100% money back guarantee. If you don't like, I always joke with people, it's like, if you don't like that I have long hair, you can say, I want my money back because Joe has long hair, or he's got a beard, or I don't know, I don't like his green shirt. It does not matter. We all the purpose of discovery is to validate that which we talked about in the cash flow recovery. Show
Yeah.
us real numbers with your tax returns. We do a side by side comparison, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of that, we say, do you want us to launch into our full blown planning process? Or do you want your money back? It's a bifurcated pathway right there.
Mhm.
If it and they have some semblance of what that's going to look like, so it's
Yeah.
easy to say yes to the next stage even at that point without making this long commitment. It's yes, now ingest all of my financial world. And this is what I think doctors really need to demand more of the financial services world as a whole. You should be given advice in context to your life with a holistic viewpoint. Anyone who's not treating you holistically, I think, is doing you a disservice. And it's the reason why you have this cacophony of error 10
Mhm.
years down the road. It's not that any one piece of advice was wrong or bad. It's just in total, it's not efficient and not serving you well. So I don't care if you work with us or not. I would like to work with you if you're a good fit. But if not, you need to demand more of your team. It has to be holistic, it has to be contextual, and it has to have all of your goals in mind. So that's when we dive into that portion of what we do. Again, give trust, earn trust. So you give us a little bit of trust and we earn more. And so you're now saying, here's all of my financial information. For the first time ever, I've got a group looking at all of it, and
Mhm.
then we put together based on that information and really, really critical, your goals. What is it that you're actually looking to achieve? Based on all of that, here's what we believe is the best plan for you. Would you like us to implement that for you? So now
Mhm.
you're at this other bifurcated decision. I either want to hire somebody else and take this plan and execute it. I want to do it on my own, or I want to have Terra Firma do it. So I feel like our process should engender trust all at literally at every step of the path should be them giving us a little bit of trust and
Mm.
us showing that we deserve that trust and earning more.
And then you take the next step only then.
Right.
And one thing you said was we want the right people to come in because as we said, no one of us is right for everyone and no company is right for everyone. We have built a culture here that the right people are the right people.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting how two people can have the same exact experience and have such different feedback. I've been on so many discovery meetings with Bob or a member of his team, and some people, a lot of people are blown away. They're blown away that someone has finally walked them through their tax return. No one's done that for me before. And oh, that makes sense. And then to see the side by side, and then to see like the structure and the philosophy and like how the wealthy do it. I've just learned more in that hour than I've ever learned before. Like, oh my God, I want to do that. And then another person says, and this was the person who's like, well, how do I know it's not a scam? I'm like, we just showed you so much, and we're not asking for your firstborn. We're asking you to go through phase one. So that they were disappointed that like they didn't have the whole plan yet. And I said, well, we need to lay the foundation first and educate you and start changing your mindset. And then like, that's a lot of work to do a whole deep dive into your financial life. So maybe you always say conflict arises when expectations are unmet. So like, it's on us to do a very good job of setting expectations in the beginning of like, this is our process. This is how we do it and why we do it. And this is when you'll get that.
Mhm.
So, most people are, but if you don't like us, if you don't like our process, like that's okay. Maybe you need to go find someone else, but it doesn't mean we're a scam. But the other thing you said is demand more of your financial professionals. But it's like, they're not able to do that. They're not trained to do that. Very few people are trained to look at your financial life from a holistic level. And honestly, it is why it costs more to work with Terra Firma, because the keeping up on a 70,000 page tax code all the time and the laws that change and being an expert in all the different areas and how you can put them together, that's a huge job. And then putting together a team to execute it all, it's like, again, that's not going to be for everyone either. But what brings so many people to us is the frustration that most of the financial industry cannot provide that for you.
Right. But I think what we need to put into the zeitgeist is we need more people demanding more of that industry.
Yeah.
It is an unbelievably lazy industry. It's like people perceive that there's so much that's being done. It's like that was like a few clicks of about what they're doing is not value. I know I'm making a lot of judgment on that industry, but it's just they're not adding a lot of value. And so I think we as a society need to be asking more of that industry. Like I just feel like that's so it can start with a question to their advisor like, hey, how is this going to impact this, this, and this? And they're going to say, if they're honest, they're going to say, I don't know. But I'm hoping that would drive them to go, how could I know? Like if we demand more of this industry, perhaps the industry will move itself to a place where it is better serving to everybody. That would be best for everyone.
And then that means more competition for Terra Firma, which more
Great.
competition just makes everybody better. Exactly.
I mean, that's what I would hope. I hope that this industry gets better and serves people, not serves, the few at the top, to extract as much as it can. So and everyone, by the way, everyone would be better if they felt more at financial peace. Like if they felt that, like I know how our members feel when we do what we do for them, they feel at peace financially. They're like, oh, this is being taken care of. Every stone is being, turned over to see what's there. I know that I'm moving towards a more healthy future than I was previously. That peace, like kind of, it spreads throughout the rest of their life. That makes a better world. So I love what we get to do for our members, but I to my core believe that we are making the world a better place through what we're doing. And I just wish more people would experience it.
I completely agree too. And that's why I think too, I get very defensive because I'm like, this is like a mission here. And it is very important, the work we're doing. I mean, the conversations you have in your own home, like my husband and I, when you really think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm being taxed on the money that I make. And then when I buy something, I'm being taxed again. And then when I gain something by taking a risk or investing, I pay we are taxed to death. And this is a conversation for another day, which we've hit on before, but like there is so much brainwashing out there. There is so much just low IQ, like thinking out there about the rich. And that is why we feel like, okay, we're not even going to pay attention to those people who are like, oh, the rich need to pay more. Like, you don't even understand how this works. But these poor people who work so hard every day to serve other people, and then they're paying 30, 40% of it to the government, it is disgusting. So I do feel like we are doing very important work. You mentioned if you ask them, how does this impact this? And then they don't know, that's a bit of a red flag. As people are assessing who to trust with their money, who to trust with their planning, can you think of any other red flags that they should be looking out for?
I mean, look for the people who live by the mantra, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If the solution is always the same, it's
Yeah.
like it's a cookie cutter element that they're just running over and over and over. And even if all they're doing is critiquing other pathways, to me, it's like, well, that could show just a lack of understanding of all the tools. So one of the things I love about the work we do is we are fairly tool agnostic. It's just like, yes, there are some tools that do very heavy lifting for us, and they're almost always going to be used.
Mhm.
But even some of them, our goal is to get people to not have to use those tools. It
Mhm.
can do a heavy lifting until something else can do that. So I think that's kind of like the person who, like, all they do is, if all they're doing is financial advice, it's like, or stocks and bonds, like that's all they do, and that's the only thing. You shouldn't invest in real estate. Why would you invest in real estate? It should all be in the markets, this, that,
Yeah.
or all it should be in is in real estate. This is the only pathway, like that. There's a lot of that in the industry. That's
Mhm.
honestly, there's so many days I wish we could just do that. It's so much easier. Like, what we do is really hard, to your point, keeping up with the Internal Revenue Code, just keeping up with that and understanding the changes and how that impacts everything. That's hard enough on its own, let alone what's going on in the markets and what's going on in alternative assets and private equity, and what are the new opportunities in business. Like, there's so much to keep up with. There are
Mhm.
days where I wish we just would just do
Girl.
one thing and somebody else do this. And that's the kind of the seat that I get to sit in at Terra Firma. Like, I have the pleasure of being able to oversee a lot of the work that's being done. And so I get to watch people work. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm like, hey, just pull up your computer, let me be there, share your screen, and let me watch what you're doing. I'm trying to find inefficiencies where maybe a software could change this or whatever it might be. You guys, if you really understood the volume of work that went into taking care of a member inside of Terra Firma's world, you would be asking the same question. How do you not charge more for it? Like, the painstaking detail that goes into this. I had this conversation, it was either yesterday or the day before, with a few of the staff members, because they're living in the minutia. Like, they're having to pay
Right.
attention to the pennies and the dollars. You know what I mean? Like, every last cent. And what I told them is, I said, hey, one, I recognize the work that you're doing. And I know how hard this is. This is painstaking, monotonous, detail oriented work. And there's three of them that I was talking with this. I said, you need to understand there is holiness in that work. It may feel mundane. It may feel like, am I not going to do something more? This is more. There is holiness in serving people at that level. So I think that's kind of like what I'd be asking some of the questions if I were looking at a firm. Like, what's your stance on, like, this level of work? Like, what does that look like for you?
And I think as we're talking about red flags, something as simple as how responsive is your professional? Because that's something we hear a lot. That's something I've experienced myself when I had the same accounting firm for like a decade back when I lived in Wisconsin. I would call, I would email, talk about a red flag, and then they ended up closing up shop and not even telling anyone. And then I
Oh,
found out
wow.
they hadn't submitted one of my 1099s from 2022. So we owed thousands of dollars from that year. So, like, oh, I maybe should have thought these people are not on the ball when they have me emailing sensitive documents and then I follow up and I don't hear from them for 3 or 4 weeks. That is another mm, intentional part of how we structure Terra Firma. Like, not everyone can have access to Bob day in and day out. Like, Bob and his team are doing a lot, but you have a coach, you have a person who, I mean, I have members in my inbox, in my texts all day, every day, and I'm accessible to them. And I am the person who not only builds the relationship with them, but then coordinates this whole team of professionals who are doing that mundane work on the back
Mhm.
end on their behalf to put together a cohesive plan and give them that peace. And so you don't always get that. So I would say that is a real green flag as
Mm.
you're going through the process of like how responsive and attentive somebody is.
Yeah, and we've set that up very intentionally. And as anyone who's listened to this channel knows, like, we care a lot more about you as a human than just you as a financial mechanism. Yes, saving money on taxes is really, really easy for us. Like, it's what we do. It's what, helping accelerate wealth building. It's easy. It's what we do. It's just a function of what we do. The harder part is the human dynamic. And what we really care about is, like, you as, spiritual, family, business, financial, fitness. And that's why your coach at Terra Firma is such a critical player in your world. Like, I think I can envision 15 years from now, a member who's like, I've had the same coach for, like, we've walked through births and deaths and, highs and lows and all of it. And I feel like I have a legacy in place. And here's another human who's helped me steward that to get there. That's a
Mhm.
very unique position than an accountant, a financial advisor. Like, I just feel like from the DNA of who we are as a company, we're like the anti-scam company because of what we've done, like how we've built what we do.
Absolutely. Okay, so to wrap up, any last words or what advice would you give someone who is right on that brink where they're like, I like what I see. I feel like this is what I've been looking for, but I'm still a little scared. What if I'm making a mistake? What advice would you leave them with?
I think the best advice anybody can get just in life is you need to trust your gut. And I don't care what that means for you. If that means that you cannot trust us, then don't. Like, the wrong thing to do. Like, we are one of the only creatures on this planet that actively ignores signals that our body is giving us. Like, do you think like a deer in the woods hears a twig snap? It's like, that's probably just another deer. No, they're like freaking bolting. They're out, right? It's like they don't second guess their gut. So honestly, anybody who's listening to this, the best advice I can give you in life in general is you need to listen to that voice inside of you. If the voice inside of you is like, don't do this, great, then you can't do it. We don't want to convince you to do something. But if it's all these other voices that are like, I don't know if you should do this, but your gut is like, I feel like this is, then you should do it. Like, I feel like it's really, really simple. So that's the
I
best advice I can give around it.
I love that. All right, Doc. So if you've ever wondered, listening to us, how do I know that isn't a scam? We're not going to be defensive. It's not a bad question. It is a reasonable one because your money, your family, the future you are building, it all matters. And you do have to be very thoughtful about who you trust with those things. But you also can't let fear completely hold you back from building the future you want to create. So the goal here is not blind trust. It is informed trust. And like you said, while we don't want to work with the wrong people or talk someone into something they're not ready for, we do want to help the right people make clear, confident decisions to achieve that future that they want. So we hope this has been valuable. As always, we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, go be a wealth maverick.